Uncle Gordon was a visionary. He was serious, but he could also have fun. I know that he's rejoicing because I think he envisioned this. He wanted this. He wanted young people that looked like him, that young people, color, to have visions, right? That they had a right to walk through museums and experience their culture, right? To have joy, to have peace, to have hope, to do things far beyond what he could ever imagine doing.
American Gothic is a photo with Ella Watkins in front of the flag. This is such a seminal piece of work from Gordon Parks, this iconic photographer. But I think what people don't often realize is American Gothic is a series of photos that really look at her entire life more comprehensively.
I'd say faith for me is believing in a higher power, believing in myself, and like striving to kind of do anything I want to do. It's like having that sense in me that I have like faith and I can go to church and everything and pray and believe, but also I can't like move forward in my life if I also don't believe in myself. So faith is like determination and just like strive.
Faith for me is kind of like a purpose in life. For me, being a Muslim, it's kind of like my purpose in life is to worship God. That's what I'm working for and for the hereafter.
For me, I'd say, faith is all I have. God and my religion has made me the person I am today, and I've always been told God has put you on this world for a reason and a purpose. That's what my mom's told me, that's what's been prophesied through leaders in my church groups, and I always think about it every day whenever I wake up and say I'm on this world for a reason and a purpose, and I'm here to follow God's call. Not my call, not anyone else's call, but what God's put me on this earth to do.
My own faith in myself, like I'm gonna be somebody, I'm gonna do something, like keeping that in my head, like I believe I am a special person, and that keeps me going in my challenges. Like it's not easy, but you're doing it. I'm trying.
My parents' faith in God got me through the day, knowing somebody was praying for me, even if I wouldn't be praying for myself. It was nice to know that there was always somebody there that cared. It's probably the best faith that I had.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, that was beautiful. My mom tells me that she was praying for me. It's a different kind of feeling. And she'll even say like, oh yeah, like me and your dad have been praying over you. And it's like, I took a huge step away from God because there was no reaction. It felt like I was calling out for help and there was no response. But knowing, like you were saying, knowing that someone is like praying that you're okay is like, maybe I will be okay.
Gives you hope.
Yeah, honestly.
That everything's gonna be okay.
What do we do now as a community when we need help from each other? What do you think we do? Like, how do we help each other?
I mean, I feel as though we could, like, maybe try to, like, just try to talk everything out, because that's what, like, really helps everything, for real, for real.
Deep meditation and reflection. Like, I'm learning as in meditational practices, just sitting with oneself and understanding your own thoughts, because that's really where it all starts. You have to understand what's going on with you for you can know what's going on in the world. You can't help anybody if you cannot help yourself. So and then the community part and where that comes into play is if I'm doing this around a group of people who have the same good energy as me, then we shouldn't see anything else but success and healing and growth within that. You feel me? Within that circle. So I feel like that's one way, because me and my friends do that all the time. Meditation circles, sitting down, talking to each other, conversing, like you said, talking our problems out rather than using violence instead of, like, when you understand one another, it's way easier than just jumping out of your body. And I fully understand that because we all have fell victim to our own impulses. So
I feel like we still have community today. We see it when what happened to George Floyd. We saw the community that stood for Black Lives Matter, that wanted equality, come together and fight for equality. Obviously, there's still work that needs to be done, but we do see community there. Speaking in my perspective, there's the Palestinian protests. I still see community, people come together and talk and fight for equality and fight for what America is. I feel like being American, it is our duty to fight for a better America every day, because without anybody coming together, we can't really get progress, or we might even degrade.
I do understand that. I feel like we have a responsibility to help those in need also, because I feel like as a country, we have taken so much from others, so I agree on that heavily. Thing is, how do we come together consistently and achieve that goal? Like you said, they're coming together for the Palestinian protests and freeing them. That's one way of showing community. In the communities, as in churches, unity, that's another way of us showing community. In mosque, that's one way of showing community. But how can we intertwine our cultures together and unite as one? Because I feel like we're strong individually, but we can be stronger together. And that's the goal, really, is to unite and see where we can go in the future.
I mean, we could do something like how we used to do back in the day, like how Martin Luther King used to handle it, like just walk in the streets and just basically say how we feel as like Black people, for as people in general.
Tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm seeing it in my community. We come together only for the bad, or mostly for the bad, for conflict. But there is nothing where we come together just to come together and build that connection with each other. I mean, obviously we do, but mostly, oh, there's a problem here, let's go, we have to come together for that. But I feel like having like the youth, having everybody come together, even good and bad, to improve ourselves, I feel like that is a necessity that we need to work on.
When we think about Minnesota, we have a heavy immigrant population. And for a lot of those people, community is all they have.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are Somalian that live by me. And I've seen a lot of them in their groups of people that they have in their tight-knit community, always together. And it's like, I feel like that also encourages kind of like family values and principles of that sense. But I think people always are looking for some sort of community wherever they go. The community makes you who you are, right?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I'm from Frogtown, Rondo area. That definitely made me who I am.
Yeah. And
Frogtown.
you know, like I'm from the burbs, unfortunately, and I feel like it's like so off. Because it's like I was bounced around, so I feel like I never had like I'm from Frogtown. I can tell. I'm not gonna claim Woodbury, like that's just not the vibes for me. So I feel like I want to raise my kids to have community in a specific community.
Yes, definitely. I want the newer generation to be, because it feels like we strayed so far from it. Like Marquand was saying, like we're trying to get back, and even after all the George Floyd stuff, like, and you were saying like with the Muslim communities, like I feel like people are trying to reach out to like whatever they can grab a hold of, because like you were saying, like community really is what defines us, like where we come from, who we are, and it's like I just hope that we don't completely lose touch of that.
Yeah.
With these photos, I can feel that he's kind of just at peace on like the street that he's on. He's enjoying his work that he's doing. And I like seeing that in the photo. What do you guys think of like community and like how this like kind of be inclusive, or how you would like connect to this?
One thing I like about these photos is that the type of community it's portraying is like more working class, where the old school I went to, I found it really hard to connect to the people I was with because I knew they all came from old money, so it was hard to like admire them in a sense. Whereas where I'm at now, I can admire the people I'm around because I know they worked for what they have.
I can kind of like recognize with that been like a different aspect for me. Growing up, I went to like a lot of schools with like students of color. So I was like consistently surrounded by like Black kids and like just kids from every different background. But then going into middle school, it turned into like me being the only Black girl, like the only like student of color in the class. So like it was kind of the opposite for me, like going from somewhere where it's like you don't really feel like you belong to going somewhere where it's like I'm seeing people who like look like me and have like the same background. But I don't know. For that, I would really love to have this like inclusivity and like feel like I have this community in the setting that I'm in. And I feel like sometimes for me, it's like you have to build that. You have to build that. Like at my school, we have our Black Student Union. We have groups where like we all come together and like create those small safe spaces and spaces that like you wouldn't necessarily think are like that inclusive.
I can agree with like growing up with other people, like other Black people, and like being like in a comfortable space. But it's like in middle school, majority of my class was all Asian kids, which is also people of color, but I just felt out of place because I was like one of only the 5 Black people who went to that school, and I just felt like very uncomfortable like for my first year going there. But like I still could relate to them in some ways, and so I think that people of color, they can just come together, and I think that's really cool.
I had a teacher who told me that, who told the whole class, like, if you think that people of color are united, you're wrong. And I mean, she wasn't completely wrong, but there's also like, there's a sense of community even like without, through the different races.
I feel like we probably need to like stop looking at it as like a monolith. Like I see terms like BIPOC, like Black, Indigenous, people of color, and like kind of separating those two out of that. Because like, yes, we all are people of color, but we all have very, very individual struggles and journeys that we're all going through. So for people to kind of just like put them all together, like, oh, those are people of color over there, we're not all the same. We are all still individuals. And I feel like that needs to be understood more.
Seeing how hard Miss Watson had to work, how many people she was responsible for in her family, how did it make you feel? And let me get some experiences maybe.
Off the rip, you know, when I did see the photo, I thought of it like as drained Black woman, but at the same time, she looked strong in the way she was carrying herself. So I understood that. And it kind of reminded me of my mom off the rip, because I'm thinking she has to endure all of this, but at the same time, she's still taking care of the family that she has. So strong Black woman, which is common throughout America in general. So that was really all it was, you feel me? It was just, I felt something to that photo because it just seemed familiar to me. But
it reminded me of my grandma a lot. She's raised me, my mom, my sister, like, she's just like the foundation, and she's always had to work super hard for everything she's had, and I don't know, it just reminded me of like how hard Black women have to work for the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm. Seeing the photo of Ella Watson, especially holding like the broom that she worked with and the mop that she worked with, you know, it was really inspirational seeing that, you know, she's barely being paid, she's supporting a family that's much bigger than she can afford to do so. It immediately reminded me of my mom, you know, being a single mom and having to raise me and my younger siblings. You know, it was like, man, you know, I see my mom in her.
It means a lot to me that the kids have an out. That if you want to really go for it, you can go for it. You don't need the gun and the knife to do it. You can do it with your pen or your computer. You can do it with a paintbrush and so forth. You can be heard, and heard a lot longer and a lot stronger if you use the right weapons.